Hey guys, Stephen here at St. Stephen and St. Joe's. So last week we did a tour at St. Joseph, and this week we will do one of the St. Stephen's parish. St. Joseph's was in the Romanesque revival, which was very common for Germans, but this one is in the Gothic revival, which was very common for other Europeans at that time. And the characteristics that really define a Gothic revival is its grandness. It's supposed to really take you out of yourself. To show that you're part of something that's super great. That's something that extends back beyond us. There's also other churches in the city of Stevens Point that are very similar to this, actually just within several blocks of here. First thing I want to point out though is that there's three parts to this church. So the first, this is the narthex, this is the back of the church, and then we go into the nave, and then finally the sanctuary, which is up in the front. They help us enter into what's going on during all the liturgy. And they help us enter into the life of a Christian. They inform what a Christian does. That's why the beginning of the church starts with the baptistry and the narthex. Christian starts with baptism. That's how you enter the church. And that's why it's in the back. It's the entry point. That's also why the ceiling is littered with symbols of 8. You know, the 8th day of creation. God created, right, in 6, rested on the 7th, but on the 8th day, that's the day of resurrection. That's a symbol of baptism. The same with all the waters of regeneration. Again, all these things are to help the Christian understand what his or her life is in the church. Right after baptism, the Christian enters into the life of the church, which is a ship on a journey. It's an ark that's bearing all of creation to the heavenly sanctuary of heaven. Notice all the crosses. So the Christian is baptized into the death of Jesus. They're called to die to self and live the cross. They model what Jesus did. One's entire life becomes a sacrifice. It's also why we have all the shields, right? Because the Christian battles. Once he's baptized, he battles, just like the apostles did. But notice too that it starts with the events of Jesus. Someone encounters Christ, and that love, that worship, that overflows into the love that is worthy of the cross. Part of the earthly pilgrimage is just becoming a saint. And notice that these ones, all of them are actually declared saints. When this was made, none of these were declared saints yet. That's why the Pope is holding the decree with the hope that they would actually become saints. But notice that the crowns are below them. They are awaiting the crowns. And that's what we do too. We're awaiting our crowns, bearing the palms of victory in this life, with the hope that we will bear crowns with Christ in heaven. And right next to it, these are the saints who are bearing the crowns, right, with Christ. And notice that the throne is just like that one over there. Our church right now is a symbol of what's going on in heaven. Our pilgrimage is marked by these signs that are supposed to help us see what heaven's like, to help us enter into it. And notice too, all the saints, they're expecting heaven. They're all looking towards the sanctuary. And a lot of the imagery in these are of revelation, of the end times. That's the New Jerusalem, the one that is coming out of heaven as the bride of Christ. Because that's what's actually going on right now. The heavenly Jerusalem, right, the church, is being brought up to God. As the body of Christ, it is being resurrected, raised, ascending with Christ. Christ is the head who's already in heaven, but he's bringing the rest of his body with him. But since it's sacramental, since it's a mystery, we can't always see it. And that's why churches will often give this imagery to help us remember what we're really about here. We are on a pilgrimage, being born to heaven. Now the sanctuary, this is the third and final part of the church. And this is the most representative of heaven because Christ himself, that is the real presence of God. That is God himself in the tabernacle. From right here, you can see a lot of the theology that went into the architecture of the sanctuary itself. Whereas the nave had a lot of crosses, notice the lack of crosses right here. Heaven is marked by tranquility, peace, joy, and communion with the Trinity. There's a lot of images of crowns, lamps, glory. And of course, that's where the most heavenly things occur, where heaven breaks into this world the most. And that's in the altar, right, at Mass. When we're at Mass, when we're at the sacraments, we should be reminded of what's actually going on as a member of the church. We're in an ark. right now that's marked by battles and sufferings and a lot of tribulation that can be discouraging, but it's marked with hope because we're Christian. Jesus is purifying us for heaven, and that should console us. That should give us a lot of hope during the week. As we carry on, these crosses are to end in the heavenly sanctuary. Thanks again, guys, for watching. This is my last video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my time at the parish. Please know of my prayers. God bless all of you. Thanks.